is sprinklered, it would be completely safe, but sometimes things happen. People block sprinklers. They're maintaining sprinklers and they shut things down. Accidents happen. It's never one big thing. It's always a lot of little things that happen. And you could have a fire in your dorm. So I'm going to ask you to, practice fire safety. I know you have these fire drills and exit drills. I don't know if you have them every month or every other month or something, and you probably think they're a big pain in the, pain in your backside. So, but you know what? They're there for a reason. And I've known, and I used to go to school in La Crosse. There was a sorority house there that had a lot of people there, and a girl died. Right after I got out of school, a girl died in a fire in a sorority house, right across the street from campus. We've had dorm fires to this day. You would think that we wouldn't, but around the country there have been fires. So practice your fire safety, your exit drills. Think about fire safety all the time because, it's not just you, it's your roommate, it's the 2 rooms next to you, it's your floor, your cube, it's your building, and we'll get there quickly. We'll be at Marquette. We're close. We can get there within probably 2.5 to 3 minutes at the most. We're going to have people on scene. We're going to be assessing the situation, and your school's emergency procedures are going to have kicked into effect, and people are going to be probably out of the building already. When I came here on this fire engine 27.5 years ago, that's exactly what happened. We had a fire alarm sounding at 3 in the morning on a cold sub-zero winter night in McCormick Hall. And I'll never forget it. When we got there, everybody was out of the building. There wasn't one person left in that building. I can't tell you what that means to the firefighters when you pull up, or the chief, and they pull up, and the first question we ask is everybody out of the building? And when somebody comes to us and says, yes, everybody is out, the alarm sounded, everybody evacuated, that really helps us out a lot. And then we can go into an attack mode rather than a rescue mode. All right, we're still on the apparatus floor at Engine 2 on 7th and Wells. And this is our office. And the office contains 3 desks, 1 for each officer. And we also have the CAD system, the computer-aided dispatch system. The runs come in here, and the alarm is taken here. It's printed out on a sheet, and it's in triplicate, so people can, it's called a rip and run. They'll rip it off, and then they'll take it to their unit, and they have all the information they need in hand, and also the address, and they respond based on that information that they have. I mentioned the officers' desks. You can see them here. They have computer terminals, and all the information for our department for staffing and emergencies is contained in here. This is our dispatch center. At this desk, you can see the printout comes out there. It's also shown on the screen or the monitor, and they can rip that sheet off and they can take it with them to go on the run. The watchman is down here. There's always somebody on duty 24 hours a day in the Milwaukee Fire Department. There's somebody down here in case a Marquette student or a citizen or somebody comes to the door with an emergency. We call that a still alarm. If they knock or ring the doorbell, then there's somebody here that can wake up and that's here that knows where they are, or knows that somebody's there. They can go and get them and help them out and take care of them. We call that a still alarm. Sometimes those result in emergency medical situations and sometimes even fires. All right, we're in the basement of Engine 2. Almost every, in fact, I shouldn't say almost, every firehouse in the city of Milwaukee has some type of exercise equipment, both aerobic and then resistance weight training, free weights, dumbbells, equipment like universal type things. The equipment either comes from people bringing in their own personal things, or every firehouse has a house fund that people contribute to every month. For example, it might be like $20 every 3 months per person in the house. And they build up a kitty or a pool of money, and then the house captain decides what they're going to do with that money. And one of the things they spend that money on is workout equipment. Firefighters, when they have some downtime, whenever that is, they try to work out and stay in shape and so they can respond to the next alarm. Firefighting is a very strenuous occupation. It's very dangerous, and firefighters should be in the best shape that they can possibly be in. We're still on the second floor of the quarters of Engine 2. This is the dormitory area. This is where all the firefighters sleep that work here. There are 4 poles in this firehouse, in this dormitory area. There's more poles in the entire firehouse, but this area or room has 4 poles in it. And this is unique because these pole holes are covered by metal doors that are operate with a treadle pedal, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you now. We're still on the second floor at Engine 2's quarters. This area on the second floor in the living area is the locker room, the dormitory. I shouldn't say, we just came from the dormitory, but this is the locker room, and the bathrooms are over on your right. And this is also the TV area where firefighters can relax in between training and runs. Sometimes they just take a break here and there. Still on the second floor at the quarters of Engine 2. This is the kitchen area and the dining room area. This is where all the firefighters eat. We eat twice a day, every day, at noon and 5 o'clock. Firefighters in the morning will throw into a kitchen fund or a kitchen kitty for meals, and then the cook goes and shops for the food with the fire engine, and they purchase all the food, bring it back here, prepare it, and then they serve a noon meal and a 5 o'clock meal.
Visitors also get to experience an authentic fire department flair when they step foot on the building's top floor, where the waiting room has been recreated to look like it would have many years ago. This is also where we waited for our interview with the chief, Mark Rolfing.
Hi guys, my name is Mark Rolfing. I'm the fire chief of the Milwaukee Fire Department. And we're in my office today, and basically I oversee a force of about 1,050 employees. We have 231 firefighters on 3 shifts that man the city 24/7, and about 930 to 950 of our employees are actually sworn firefighters.
If there is one experience that you've made in your career that really stuck in your head and that you really remember well, what would that be?
That's going to be a little difficult because I've only been with the Milwaukee Fire Department 7 months. And so prior to coming here, I was the chief of the Rapid City Fire Department for about 2.5 years. And then I spent 25 years and retired as an assistant chief from the Omaha, Nebraska Fire Department.
There was one event out of your whole life and whole career as a firefighter that really stuck to your head and that you really remember well. What would you say that would be?
You know what, I'll answer it in 2 ways. We had a 6-alarm fire one night where we had the top of a building blow off, if you will, and pretty spectacular fire. So in the sense of smoke and flames and really big fire and kind of exciting fire trucks everywhere, you know, that would probably be one of the most memorable fires I've ever been on. I think, though, the most memorable, what tends to stick in your mind more are those 2 or 3 calls you make where you actually have to deal with, you know, someone who's been killed at the incident. And those kind of stick in your head, whether it's a motorcycle accident or a car accident. And I think just about every firefighter who works, if you went and asked him, you know, right there like it happened yesterday, he can tell you about 3 or 4 incidents that you were on, you know, that there were some pretty catastrophic loss of life.
So, Chief, us being Marquette students, people obviously want to know, do we have anything to worry about, and are we safe on campus?
You know what? Yes, very much so. In Milwaukee, the Department of Neighborhood Services does all our fire inspections. And they have excellent inspectors. They do an excellent job. You know, we have good fire codes in the city. And I think, you know, the key is that the buildings are safe and they're built correctly. And, you know, one of those old things we say in the fire service is, you know, it's not the candle or the match that starts the fire, it's the misuse of that candle or match, you know, by some person. And so I think, you know, the real message is, how are we safe? Safe as make sure fire doors are closed, you know, make sure you're not doing anything inappropriate, you know, with fire or, you know, space heaters, candles, all those kind of things. So follow good fire safety, the same things you learned when you were little all the way up. Too many, extension cords and a plug, cheap extension cords. If the product you buy isn't UL or factory mutual certified, you know, all those common sense things that we all know that sometimes we just don't use. Candles, they look really nice, put a plate under it. You know, how many fires I've been to where they set a candle on a couch, set a candle on a table, set a candle on a bed. Now, I'm talking about without a plate. As the candle burns down, next thing you know, you have a pretty significant fire.
So, Chief, when we dial 911 on our phones for an emergency, you're obviously unable to answer the call personally. So can you explain to us what is the process, or what process do you get involved with when there is an emergency call to the fire department?
And to be honest, you're absolutely right. I only get involved in very few calls. For the most part, you know, I monitor what goes on during the day. We have on our department intranet site, we can monitor what calls are in progress, where our fire trucks and our med units are, but it's very rarely that I actually go out on the scene. We actually have a deputy chief who oversees all the firefighting and EMS operations on the scene. So I usually get involved if there's a large fire or any kind of large incident, or if there's firefighter fatality or firefighter injuries. You know, anything out of the ordinary, I'll go to the fire and some other of assistant chiefs who would be administrators.
So, Chief, you spent the last 7 years in Rapid City, South Dakota, before you came to Milwaukee. Can you kind of tell us, was it a big transition from coming there to one of the biggest cities in the nation?
You know what? It's a lot busier, and you know, people often ask, you know, that question, and the truth of the matter is Milwaukee's about 10 times larger than Rapid City was, and so it means we have a larger budget, more firefighters, and you know, more stations and those kinds of things to take care of. But as far as the job, it's pretty much the same when you talk about, you know, developing policies and procedures, you know, working with the budget and all those kind of issues. It's, you know, it would be fire service management, so it's pretty much the same, just on a larger scale. And in Omaha, Omaha is about this 150,000 people less than the city of Milwaukee. So our fire department was real similar city, sized, similar demographics. So coming from Rapid City, it was like going back to the fire department I'd grown up in.
And even when Chief Rolfing's office is empty, you are still safe and in good hands, thanks to the firefighters here at Engine 2.
I want to thank everyone today for joining us on this informal and casual tour of the quarters of Engine 2, which is your fire station at Marquette University. We appreciate you being